Hey guys, it's Locky here. Last week I wrote a blog about live acoustic mixing, and I spent quite a bit of that time talking about how you can add a resonance track to your acoustic guitar to get rid of some of that boxy sound that's associated with piezo pickups and give it a nice natural resonant sound. And now I'm going to take this into the studio with the same idea just to show you how the process works and run it through with some plugins so you get an idea of the sound of it and how to achieve it. So I've recorded some guitar into Pro Tools. I used my Maton ECW 80C, which is quite a nice acoustic guitar, but it's got some old strings, and because I recorded direct into the interface, it's got quite a boxy sound, which you'll hear now. Now, as you can hear, that's not the worst sounding acoustic that you'll get, but we can make it quite a bit nicer. I'm just going to run through the channels here for you. And first up, we've got just the recorded guitar sound, and I'm not going to add any reverb to that one, just going to leave it as is. Next up is the resonance guitar track. Now that one's going to have all the reverb on it. And under that we've got a bus, which I'm going to blend these two channels together with. And at the very bottom we've got another copy of that first guitar track, which is going to act as an A-B check to see where we came from and where we got to with the sound. Now I'm going to start on the resonance guitar channel, and we're going to try and get a nice big resonance sound using a reverb. First channel I've got here is an R channel. That's not doing anything, that's just there to split it into stereo, so I can add a stereo reverb channel. I'm going to use the air reverb. The only reason being is it comes free with Pro Tools, and I wanted to show you guys this technique with something that you'd have at your disposal. If you're running Logic or Cubase or whatever, I'm sure there's a lot of nice reverb plugins and you can get a similar result. So I'm just going to have a listen to this with the factory default settings. Now, as you can tell, that's really big and boomy, sounds like a massive hall, and we're not really going for that kind of sound just yet. So we're going to pull down the room size because we're trying to emulate the sound of the resonance of the guitar itself, which is quite a small sound in the reverb world. So I'm going to pull the room size down to 10%. Take the reverb time down to about half a second, and pull the balance between the early reflections and the tail down to about 20%. And that'll get more of the sound of the room or the guitar as we're trying to emulate, and less of that shimmery reverb at the end. Next up, we've got to pick a early reflections tone or type. And I'm going with Booth, but you can really go through all of these and see what sounds they have. There's not really any right or wrong with that, they're just a different kind of tone, but I went through these earlier and my favorite was Booth. And finally, I'm just going to take out the high cut because we're going to do our own EQing, and I'm going to pull down the width a bit so that it's not so wide and make it a bit more natural. So we'll have a listen to that now. And without it, you can hear that's already sounding a lot less pokey, a lot less boxy, and much nicer. So next up, we're going to start EQing this sound, and I'm going to use the fabfilter Pro Q2. The only reason I'm going with this one is because it's got a nice spectrum analyzer at the bottom, so we can see what's going on. And the other good feature about this plugin is that you've got this listen function, so you can hear what frequencies you're working with when you're working with them. But any EQ will do with this kind of work. So first thing I'm going to do is take out some of that low end muddiness. So I'm going to use a low cut and take it down to about 70 hertz, 80 hertz, and we'll have a listen to that. So those are the tones that we're taking out. There's a bit of tone in there, but most of it's fairly muddy and not very necessary information. Alright, there's some mids cutting through, and we'll just find that frequency, because if we pull that out, that should sound quite a bit nicer. So I'll have a listen to that. Alright, next up, I'm just going to add some high frequencies to this. I'm just going to use a high shelf and bring them up a bit. We'll see how that sounds. Alright, we're starting to get quite a nice sound there. So I'm just going to move to the guitar channel and away from the resonance for a bit. And I'm going to start EQing that by itself. So I'm just going to bring up the same fabfilter EQ there. So first up, I'm going to add another low cut. But I'm going to drag this one up quite a bit to get rid of a lot of those low frequencies, because the resonance channels lows are a lot nicer than the ones by themselves. And there's a very deep boxy sound in the low mids around 500 hertz, so we're just going to hone in on that and drag that out as well. Excellent. And lastly, there's some frequencies poking up in the high end that kind of push through a little bit, and niggle at your ear. So I'm just going to find them and pull them out. Alright, so that's gotten rid of a lot of the frequencies that have been causing us trouble. Now I'm just going to mix these two channels together in the bus and see how that sounds. So I'll pull the guitar down a couple of dB to compensate for the extra volume that's going to be running through with the resonance, and I'll slowly bring up the resonance channel until we get a nice balance between them. As you can hear, that's already sounding quite nice, and we'll just do a quick A/B to hear what we had before and what we've got now. This is the old one, and that's our new tone. As you can hear, it's quite a nice sound that we've got there, and from there you can add a nice big reverb to that bus channel, or compression, or any other effects, more EQing, whatever you want to try and make it nicer. But we've got the bass sound of the acoustic that I think sounds a lot nicer than what we started with. Hopefully we'll be able to get this onto some recordings. So comment below if you found this helpful, and check out my blog at lockyberesford.com. Alright, till next time guys, have a good one.